And like I said, the thing I've seen about Vanderbilt's not a necessarily good one. According to Jovan Buha, The Athletic, Jared Vanderbilt is a negative trade asset, one of the quote-unquote more negative trade assets out there, meaning the entire NBA, and that a team like the Brooklyn Nets, for example, likely wouldn't be interested in taking Vanderbilt without additional compensation with him. And then to add even more fuel to the fire, the Lakers are quote-unquote super concerned about injury concerns, and like I mentioned before, that is a problem with Jared Vanderbilt, has been a problem for him. Hasn't hit the 40-game mark since 2022-23 now, dating roughly 3 years at this point, and that's not a good thing. Again, thankfully he's not hurt right now that we know of anyways. Did enter the offseason healthy for the first time in 2 years now, so that should help him get back on the right track, maybe develop a bit more on offense, and we'll get to that in a minute here. Actually work on his game and not simply rehab an injury. That's a good thing for him. But in regard to his trade value and why it's so bad right now, he's simply not played up to his contract that they gave him a couple years ago, which, if you're not familiar with, was a 4-year, $48 million contract that is completely guaranteed and with a player option for that final year. And well, that's definitely not a good thing for his trade value. According to that report, if it came down to it, the Lakers have to attach an asset simply for a different team to take him on, even for a rebuilding team like the Brooklyn Nets. And while I'm not saying they should trade him necessarily, I mean obviously they really can't or would have to attach an asset to simply get rid of him, I think there's definitely an argument to keep him. Obviously the defense, but it's definitely got to be talked about how he hasn't developed on offense and even declined a bit on offense last season too. Yes, once again he was working his way back from an injury, only played for the first time in early February or late January if I remember correctly, only played a total of 36 games with their team, averaging under 17 minutes per game, so obviously was not completely back in the mix, was a full-time member of the rotation, but took him a while to get back to that point, and even throughout the more important games didn't play much, wasn't a big part of their playoff rotation, only playing roughly 12 minutes per game, and if he hopes to become more than that and even rebuild that trade value, then he definitely does have to improve next season. But another layer to add to that is kind of the way that JJ Redick utilized him in my opinion. Compared to Darvin Ham, and this is one of the good things I can say about Darvin Ham, is the way that he utilized Jared Vanderbilt. That being more of a disruptor on defense at the point of attack, rather than more of a 3-4 toward the wing or even in the paint with Jared Vanderbilt. That's kind of the way that JJ Redick used him, and I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, at times I get it, they're kind of forced to due to their lack of size and height. Vanderbilt's one of their taller and lengthier players in the rotation, or was at least anyway, so they kind of want him more around the rim for rebounding and help side defense, but it definitely did take away from him in my opinion. Even with that lack of size, I think Vanderbilt's definitely best used at the point of attack, playing that disruptor role, taking on the toughest point of attack matchup and or wing matchup, guarding anyone from a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander all the way down to a Luka Doncic or even Steph Curry. That's more so what he's best at doing, being that disruptor, trying to wreak havoc at the point of attack, and that's what Vanderbilt does best in my opinion, not being that big wing defender or guy in the paint on defense. And kind of going back to the trade value, and even with a trade like the Brooklyn Nets for example, why that wouldn't be a possibility with Jared Vanderbilt and trades I've seen with him is simply from the fact that one first-round draft pick might not be enough for them to take him and give us back Nick Claxton in the same trade. I know some have liked that to avoid trading both Kleba and Vincent so we can make another trade with the one that doesn't get traded, or trying to avoid trading Dalton Connect here, but again, it might not be a possibility from the negative trade value of Jared Vanderbilt. And well, if you're a regular watcher of my content, then you're probably aware that I've not been trying to trade Vanderbilt anyways. I've seen comments saying, why don't you trade Vanderbilt in this or that trade to make the money work, or whatever it might be, and this is pretty much why. The guy is a negative trade value, you literally have to attach an asset to get rid of him and include him in a trade, so why even do it? At that point, you're selling low and trying to buy high, aka trying to trade a player at their absolute lowest trade value and trying to trade for a player at their absolute highest trade value, which is never a good idea and many Laker fans tend to be guilty of it. Even I myself at times too, but I think that's happening again right now. Trying to get rid of Vanderbilt from not playing well or not being happy with them, often the case with role players in the team, trying to trade them when they're not playing well or miss a big time shot, that's when they want to get rid of them. But in reality, that's probably the worst time to try and trade them. Rather, you kind of have to swallow your emotion and actually trade them when they have a higher trade value rather than a lower trade value. And with the case of Jared Vanderbilt, his lowest trade value is right now, so probably not a good idea to try to trade him. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.